They will be able to strike targets further away from Ukrainian lines. At the moment, they mostly have howitzers that have a range of under 20 miles. This will more than double that range. And so they will be able to hit Russian targets inside Ukraine at a much greater distance than now. And this is part of a continuing debate within NATO about how much extra capability to give Ukraine, because of course Russian lines inside Ukraine are now much deeper than 50, 60 miles. So there is a case, I think, to give Ukraine even more capable missiles so that they can strike targets throughout Russian-occupied Ukraine.
We've already seen a predictably angry reaction from Russia. President Putin has said that this will drag out the armed conflict as long as possible. But he also warned that Russia could strike at those targets that we're not striking yet. Now, it's not quite clear exactly what he means by that. But do you think that there is a risk that this escalates the conflict, that it could mean that British and perhaps other NATO troops, perhaps in some of those neighbouring NATO countries, could be at risk?
2 points or 3 points. First, yes, this does mean that Ukraine will be able to fight to defend itself for longer. So I do not think we should be particularly impressed with Putin's argument that this will extend the fighting, because what this does is extends Ukraine's ability to defend itself. Second, he talks of extra targets, but I have not seen any restraint in his choice of targets so far. He has clearly been targeting civilians and civilian infrastructure already. So I don't really buy the argument that there's a new set of targets that will now become vulnerable, because all possible targets were already vulnerable. And third, on other countries becoming involved, no, I don't see that as an imminent problem, because I think Russia has its hands full right now with what it is doing in Ukraine.
So you don't think Russia would actually risk escalating the conflict by getting drawn into what could be seen as a direct confrontation with NATO?
I think both sides are taking very great care to avoid that. It is significant that the new capabilities allow the Ukrainian forces only to strike targets within Russian-occupied Ukraine. They do not have the range to hit Russia proper. So as long as Russia proper is not targeted, I think Russia does not have a casus belli with any NATO ally.
And as I understand it, we have sent these missiles on the understanding or the agreement with Ukraine that, Ukraine is not going to use them to directly target Russia beyond its own territory.
Correct. And to make doubly certain, they simply don't have the range to achieve that with this new weaponry.
So how quickly could these weapons be deployed? How quickly could they start to make a difference? Because we know that the Ukrainians are currently engaged in a huge battle for Severodonetsk, a very important city. And they're trying to hold back the Russian offensive along that long eastern front line.
Yes, clearly their need is urgent. So now the announcement has been made. I'm sure the wheels are already in motion, but it will need some time, and there will need also to be some training. So I don't think this will be operational in the next hours. They clearly hope it will be operational in the next days.
We know that Russian troops now control something like a fifth of Ukraine's territory. And despite all the setbacks which they undoubtedly have suffered, they do appear to be gaining ground. I mean, what's your assessment of where we've reached in this conflict?
Russia is doing better than a month ago, but is still not doing as well as it hoped. Ukrainian forces are still doing very much better than any Russian or indeed Western estimate at the start of this conflict. And even though in the last few days, people have been talking about the fall of the whole of Luhansk, it has not yet happened. So the very least that the Ukrainians are doing is significantly slowing down Russian progress, significantly limiting the places where they can hope to make progress. Donbass has been a focus from the start, and still Donetsk, one of the two provinces, is substantially not under Russian control.
Nonetheless, it does look as though we're in for this long, grinding battle, particularly for control of that eastern territory.
Yes, but this is Russia's choice. Ukraine is defending itself, which is right, and which the British government and governments across the West see and support actively. The person who could stop this is Putin. As we're discussing, Russian territory is not under threat. Russian territory will not be threatened, in my view. So the power to stop this is entirely in Moscow. Of course, Zelensky could stop this, but only by surrendering, only by giving up, and he would have to give up very much more than the 1/5 that he has so far under Russian occupation. So the choice is stark and clear: a Ukrainian surrender or a Russian stopping of aggression.
President Macron has suggested that the West should not try to humiliate President Putin. He clearly wants negotiations to get underway, as does Prime Minister Draghi of Italy. Do you think there is a sense of that united front amongst the Western allies fraying a bit, with leaders like France and Italy wanting perhaps a less of a hardline approach to the Kremlin?
Yes, that is a danger, but I think we need to have that discussion within the alliance. Personally, I think that President Macron is wrong. I do not think we should be thinking in terms of goodies to give President Putin. Putin and Putin's Russia are the aggressors. Putin and Putin's Russia are the party who has to stop. And I don't think they should be rewarded for stopping something they should not have started in the first place.
Just finally, we've had this confidence vote tonight. Before that happened, Boris Johnson found time to phone President Zelensky. They seem to be speaking almost every day. Do you think that political instability at home does make it more difficult, or does affect Britain's handling of international crises like this?
Of course, other countries watch our politics. Of course, they will be following what is happening. And as long as we sort ourselves quickly, then the international impact will be contained.